Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Della.
Phil, what's going on?
Some people thought you were still uncomfortable last week.
I'm never uncomfortable. I live in a world of comfort.
So do I. Especially when you got QZs like that.
When we got QZs on, how can you be uncomfortable?
Exactly, yeah. Eric, it was a very busy week around here.
Oh, my goodness.
The Broncos made 9 draft selections, 6 on defense, 3 on offense, and we're here to break it down.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll each go over some of the draft picks, and then we'll pick our favorite pick of the weekend. Yeah.
You going to hedge or
What do
no?
you think? No, I don't think I'll hedge. Maybe that's yours.
Yeah, I might hedge a little bit. I like to hedge.
Yeah. I'll just name a guy.
Okay.
I'm like, this was my favorite pick of the weekend. Eric, before
kind of rude to put that curse on somebody, right?
I don't think it's a
Like
curse.
Phil's
There's
favorite,
the NZ
Phil's
curse.
favorite draft, not the NZ curse,
Just my curse.
the Phil curse.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Has that happened in the past?
You did say you thought Drew Lock was going to be the starter last year.
Eric, I was gonna pay you a compliment before we got started.
Sorry.
I know, a little bit of a 180 here, but I was gonna say you did correctly pick Nick Bonitto.
Nick Bonitto.
How did you do that?
I like to use my brain and think what would make sense.
Got it.
And then
you think.
Then I say it.
I say it. You say it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Got it.
You could try it.
I could try that one too.
It could be kind of like unusual. And
I will say I did say Christian Harris, not Chris Harris.
No. He was on the board.
Christian Harris. He was on the board. I do think the Broncos were interested. I do think there was probably some conversation.
Some chatter, maybe?
I do think so.
Interesting.
But ultimately, they were like, Eric likes Nick Bonitto.
We got to do it.
We should do that.
I will, though. I'll say that in my prediction, I said if Bernhard Raimann was not on the board, Nick Bonitto would be the pick. Bernhard was there.
Bernhard. Yeah,
he was there.
Austrian sensation.
And he was there again at number 75.
Not only was he there for the first one.
Twice.
He was there twice.
And the Broncos passed on him twice.
Yeah.
First one I understand with the Bonitto. Second one, they decided Greg Dulcich was a better pick.
Yeah. Well, they traded back.
Right.
Then Raimann was off.
Yeah.
And then they picked Dulcich.
And then they decided we'll go with Dulcich.
One thing we did hear from George Payton was that he liked to get a lot of opinions in the room. You know, he asked everybody in the building. He said, "I'm assuming that included you."
Yeah, that's how I kind of had a sense. He was like, "Eric, what would you do?" And I was like, "I'm a big Bonitto guy."
Yeah, put in the Bonitto.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
Yeah.
So hopefully that all works out. Otherwise, you might not be around for much longer. Yeah.
They can never get rid of me.
That's kind of the pressure.
They can't get rid of me, Phil.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go over the draft. I don't think we'll do a draft grade. We don't really believe in that.
No, it's a little silly. I like them when they're good.
It's a little silly.
I like them when they're good. Let's not mistake that. But hard to grade a draft, especially when there's no first-round pick.
That, and Eric, you know the interesting thing about grading a draft? It's sort of like how close were they to what people were mocking?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of people mocked these guys, and the Broncos picked some of them. That's a good draft. Well, there's no real reason to think that the mockers know more than the actual people who are doing the study.
Right. Like right now, people say, oh, the Patriots draft wasn't very good because they took Cole Strange in the first round.
Yeah.
Well, if Cole Strange is really good, that makes it a good draft.
Yeah, I think the thing with Strange is people were saying the value at that point was, based off of the demand for him at that point was not there.
But as Kyle Shanahan, I don't know if you saw this clip.
What did he
Our
say?
friend Kyle
it doesn't
Shanahan.
Really matter.
He said it doesn't.
The guy's good. Who cares?
No, he said it only takes one team. So
to select them.
Yeah. So if you think, hey, there's one other team that's interested in this guy.
Yeah.
You got to take it.
You got to do it. Yeah, that's true.
And that could have been the case for a couple of the Broncos draft picks maybe on day 3.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So no draft grades around here, but we'll go over maybe some of the picks, what that says, where George Payton is, how he feels about this team, where they're at right now.
Yep.
He did say that he was the most prepared for this draft that he's ever been.
Yeah. What's been going on before?
Maybe he just each year pushed it.
Pushed it a little
to
bit more.
The limit.
Yeah.
So we'll go over that, Eric. And then how about we talk a little bit about London?
London.
Yeah, the Broncos heading across the pond. We got to stop saying that, huh?
Across the pond?
Yeah.
I'm over that.
We've said that a little too much.
Yeah.
It's just easy, just to say that.
That's right.
But the Broncos will be playing in England.
I'm excited.
So, yeah, October 30th.
I'm not like Michael McQuaid or Colum excited.
Colum.
But I'm
That's
excited.
our friends over there with Broncos Euro.
Yeah, well, the Irish NFL show now.
They've
moved up in the world.
Sorry. Yeah, they're not just a Broncos show anymore.
No.
But they still...
They get better guests than we do.
Stay connected to
Their
their
roots.
Broncos roots.
Their roots. Their heritage.
We've each been on their show, right?
Yeah.
And once together.
Yeah, that didn't go
Nice
well.
little, yeah. Well, you were just like, I need all of the attention on me. And
I was like, can you stop talking?
Yeah, I was like, can I just say one word here? And you were like, no. And then I was like,
So my favorite episodes of the podcast are the ones like that.
yeah, where I don't talk.
Yeah.
At least I look good on here.
That's
though.
true.
If you're watching on YouTube,
That's what Donna's
nice.
coming here for.
That's what Donna's here for. And you're welcome. Yeah, we'll talk October 30th. It counts as a Broncos road trip.
It does.
I could have put a blast in there for Jacksonville, but I won't.
Oh.
I'll refrain. The joke is there.
You were going to say it was going to be a home game in Jacksonville?
If you want to put a joke in there. Well, I think the joke is sort of like it doesn't matter when you play Jacksonville.
Oh, where? Yeah.
I
got it.
I don't know. There's actually probably a lot of Jacksonville fans in London.
I think so.
They play over there quite a bit.
There are some interesting competitive storylines here that we'll get into.
Yeah. And also just how you sort of handle that week.
Yeah, of course.
It's a long trip, Eric.
Longest.
It's a long flight.
The longest of any NFL trip.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
It does make you well, Munich is a little further.
Yeah, I guess for Seattle. But they probably go up by the poles, you think?
Well, I'm just saying in general, furthest from the United States of America.
Well, but do you think that
Munich.
like Tampa to Munich is probably about the same as Denver to London? Or no, you don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You're saying if you go over the pole and then you're talking about the rotation?
Well, I mean, Tampa is
pick up a
obviously
little speed
further
there.
east than Denver,
Yeah.
and Germany is further east than London.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like about the same.
But the Seattle one.
The Seattle, but you go over the poles that way.
that's a far
I'm doing a preview trip out there, Phil, just to get
Really?
ready.
You're going to go out there?
Yeah, I'm going to go out
That's
to the UK. Flying from London to Atlanta is only 30 minutes longer of a flight than London to Seattle
Yeah.
because of the poles. That hurts my brain to think about. I don't understand that.
It doesn't hurt that much if you just think about how the Earth is spinning and it's on a tilt, It's on a nice little tilt.
But it's flat.
Oh, boy. So those are the topics for this week's show. Unfortunately, Ben Swanson said that there was no time for voicemails or emails.
That's sad.
Very sad. But
I was like, there's time for that John Jornot email. And Swanson said no.
yeah, I thought he said something about how you got a source in the building and you're using the cameras and stuff like that. Is that what he said?
No, I think he just praised me. I like those emails.
John Jornot did?
Praise Eric.
Yeah.
Bash Phil.
That's your burner email, huh? Jornot. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never seen
if
it
you
coming.
change the letters around, it spells Eric Dalala.
Oh, yeah, that's like a little Lord Voldemort situation. Tom Riddle.
Exactly.
Spoiler.
I've got a lot of J's in my middle name.
Yeah, John Jornot. That guy, it wouldn't kill you to just say something nice about me.
Don't do it, John. Don't do it.
If you would like to leave a voicemail, 707-NEUTRAL is how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to talk to anybody. Just go straight to voicemail. It's kind of like when you try to call Eric. And you're like, hey, what do you want to talk about this
Straight
week?
to voicemail.
Straight to voicemail.
Yeah.
How about leaving an email?
Yeah, you leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
And that way, like, why would somebody want to do that? Like,
Well,
say
maybe-
Jornot does not like the voicemail.
Maybe you've got a little node on your vocal cord. You need some rest. You can't talk for a while.
Or if, like, your voice sounds really similar to Eric's, and you're like, how do I disguise this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then you just do it. Then you do an email. You're like, this is definitely not Eric.
Yeah. We'll see if that's in the
What?
next
We haven't heard from our friend Zach.
Zach?
Yeah.
Who is that our new fan?
He's the guy with the horse Winnie.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Or the neigh. A Winnie? I think it's a Winnie, right?
He's the one who is like a little bit out there. Maybe sort of a southern-y type of accent.
You got a problem with that?
No, I enjoy that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of
Making
like
sure.
where you're from in North Carolina.
The South.
Similar.
In the East Coast, kind of that area.
Yeah. The South. And then you could also hit us up directly on Twitter at Eric Dalala with an A, at Phil Milani with a PH. Of course, those are non-traditional spellings.
They are, and we love them.
Yeah. And then if you don't like that, and if you don't like just listening because we look too good and you got to watch, the Broncos official YouTube page.
That's right.
What would you do if you were there?
Gosh, there's so many things.
Yeah,
I'd probably
what
start
would you
by
just
smashing that subscribe button.
how do you do that?
It's like a doot.
Got it.
That's a noise it makes when you click it.
Yes.
And then after that, I'd leave a comment.
Yeah.
Because
we
we'll
love
read it right here on the air.
Yeah. Somebody last week said, finally, a show that looks at the comments. And I said, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I do that. So, Eric, are you ready to hop into our first topic?
Let's do it.
Let's dive in to our first topic here on the Neutral Zone, and we're going to go through the Neutral Zone. We're going to go through the Broncos draft here, pick by pick. 9 picks, 6 on defense, 3 on offense.
30 minutes per pick you think is good enough?
Minimum.
Okay.
Minimum.
Let's get going.
Minimum. Nick Bonitto, Eric, the Broncos selected him.
Are you texting?
No, I'm just trying to look up. There's too many. 9 is I can do 7. But
Yeah.
you get to 9, I forget.
Do you think you can name all of them without this?
No chance.
Yeah, me either yet.
Definitely not in order.
Oh.
Maybe I could get 9 names out.
Yeah. Do you want to try it or no?
No, I don't want to do that. Let's try and use the power of technology.
Yeah, sorry.
Nick Bonitto out of Oklahoma, the last pick of the second round.
The last pick of the second round, and if you saw Phil,
First pick for the Broncos, last pick of the second round.
makes you think.
Kind of crazy.
There's a lot of stuff making me think today. If you saw George Payton's reaction, he said holy expletive. Nick Bonitto.
F word? S word?
I think the F.
Really?
Based on what I could say.
F.
What I could hear, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's blurred out, you can't, or beeped out, you can't totally tell, but
Yeah.
you know,
Energy.
sometimes you catch like
There's a certain energy that comes with the F word.
Yeah, you catch like a stray consonant maybe at the end of the word, and you're like, oh, I know what that one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pick up a little bit.
Yeah. In a video the Broncos released, he said, holy blank, Nick Bonitto
F-word.
at 64.
Yeah, Nick Bonitto.
So
He's fired up.
Clearly surprised he was going to be there. George Payton talked about, hey, do we trade up into the 50s to go get this guy? They really like his speed rush, his athleticism. Probably can get a little better off the edge in terms of a run defender, setting the edge there. But just a really athletic guy, had a lot of production at Oklahoma. He's going to bring value to this room alongside Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory. Phil, I think it's possible he's a future starter there for the Broncos. And listen, I know people said, okay, they're moving Baron Browning to edge, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's not a need. This was still a need. And it was probably the Broncos' biggest need, and they got a good player.
I think that you heard Nathaniel Hackett, the Broncos head coach, say this game is all about the quarterback position.
Yeah.
On offense, how you play at the quarterback position, and on defense, how you affect the quarterback. Selecting Nick Bonitto, you're going to make an impact on the quarterback. And it sounded like to me, Eric, that it's not just about having 2 pass rushers on the field at the same time. You can have Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, and Nick Bonitto in a certain package, it sounded like to me.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't pick up on that, but
that's what it sounded like to me. Maybe they would use him, a guy like Nick Bonitto, in some different ways. That's what I'm thinking.
You think they shift like Chubb or Gregory down to the D line?
A little, yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I think you can bring Bonitto from different areas too.
Got it.
You can have him line up and maybe off the line and then rush him through the middle. I'm thinking a little like how the Cowboys used Micah Parsons last year. A smaller guy who kind of does some different things. I think they like Bonitto, his speed, but they want him to put on some weight, I think. That's going to be a big thing for him. Adding some muscle to the frame.
Because Micah Parsons also played a lot of inside backer coverage.
Yeah,
was
I
good
don't
against
know how
the
much
run.
Bonitto would do that, but maybe they could use him in just some different ways.
I mean, we saw, when Vic was here, we saw times when
drop up, drop back in coverage.
but also where you'd have 3 edge rushers on the field
Yeah.
at the same time, or you stack them. Maybe you push Bradley Chubb down and Nick Bonitto's over him
on the same side.
That creates some problems. I do think they like him because he's different than Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory.
Yeah.
Both of those guys, they're big guys.
Yeah.
They're going to physically overpower you.
Yeah.
Whereas Bonitto has that speed rush. He's got that bend. You watch some of these clips, Phil.
Dip.
It's not Vaughn, but it's Vaughn-esque in terms of how he dips under the tackle.
No one dips like Vaughn.
No, but it's in the realm of possibility.
It's in the area.
Yeah, the same stratosphere.
I like that.
You like that?
Bonitto stratosphere.
I think our friend Nick Kosminer from The Athletic, I think he just did a story on Nick Bonitto's bend, his pass rush move. I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to check that out.
He's a friend of the show.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's got a sticker.
He does.
Where are the rest of those stickers, Phil? They're coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
I've started to receive complaints.
Really?
About I have not received my sticker.
In person?
On Twitter.
Oh, good. No confrontations in person. Right?
No. At the grocery store, people are like, "Is that you?"
You don't do your own grocery shopping, do you?
Of course I do, Phil. I'm a man of the people.
So Nick Bonitto, I think that pick made a lot of sense.
Yep.
We've talked about him a lot. So let's move on to pick number 2 for the Broncos.
Yep.
This is the 16th pick in the 3rd round.
Okay, good to keep track.
Would you have known that?
No.
Greg Dulcich out of UCLA, not just also from UCLA like George Payton, but from the same area of Los Angeles.
Same area of Los Angeles. Dulcich's high school coach was George Payton's roommate at UCLA.
Yeah.
And he's since passed away, and George thought there was kind of like a nice connection that he was smiling down on that moment.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool connection. Dulcich was there at 75, as we mentioned. The Broncos trade down, pick up a 5th-round pick.
With the Houston Texans.
Yep.
Texans move up and take my guy, Christian Harris.
They do.
So that, yeah.
But I think a guy that has a lot of speed, he said he plays faster than his 40-yard dash time. He doesn't have that elite 40 time that an Albert O has, that a Noah Fant had. But you watch him on tape, he's running away from guys.
Yeah.
And there are some guys that
making moves in the open field. Yeah.
There are guys that play faster than what their kind of testing scores show.
Yeah.
He also claims that he's a very good blocker. I mean, that was kind of the scouting report that he needs some work there. He said, "I'm a great blocker. I'm an elite blocker." This guy does not lack confidence, Phil.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, his conference call, he was very assured of himself.
Yeah. He said, we're going to win multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah. He was fired up.
He's fired up. I like it.
He's fired up.
I don't mind that.
When you got hair like he does, you got confidence.
The hair and the mustache, that combination. It's hard to beat.
We're fans of that on the Neutral Zone.
Yeah.
That's sort of a big part of what we stand for.
I, at some point, hope to be able to grow a mustache.
Yeah. Maybe like in 25 years.
Yeah. When I reach my 20s.
Yeah. And then even then, you might need some help.
Just
with
color it in a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of Just For Men. Not a sponsor,
apply some paste on the upper lip.
Yeah. Dark, just thicken it up a little bit, Give it a little bit of heft.
Yeah, a little heft.
Yeah. No one's going to mistake you for like a Keith Hernandez or something. That is nice.
Well, it would be nice to go back to my Italian roots and get like a little handlebar situation going, but I just don't see that.
It is nice to be able to go like,
like a little Eric Van Royen situation?
Yeah.
You don't know who that is?
I don't know what you're talking about. My dad has a mustache, though. And I will say, when he does not have a mustache, he looks funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. When you see someone with a beard or a mustache and then they shave their face,
they look weird.
You look like a big baby.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not my Who is this? That's it. I wonder. I don't know if Dulcich
he didn't tell you yet?
Quite like that. Yeah, he hasn't told me. Yeah.
We'll have that conversation later.
Maybe off.
Phil, I've been meaning to tell you this.
Yeah. Dulcich's mustache wasn't quite like that one, though.
No, it's
sort of just it's more of an accessory than a main.
Yeah, it's not the. Meal. It's the. it's like the side dish, like a hefty steak.
Yeah, it's like a tapa.
Oh,
before
yeah.
you get into like the
hair
is like a nice paella. That's like the
meat
like a seafood.
I
think a seafood.
Like a nice
paella.
meat paella. The sausage, the chorizo.
Eric, if you ask me if you're gonna do a paella, I think you gotta get seafood.
You got to okay.
That's what I say.
All right.
That's just the kind of person.
I love a nice crunch at the bottom of the paella.
Me too.
That's good.
Me too.
You've got to scrape the pan a little bit.
Yes, that is a nice.
Yeah.
That's an important part of the
Sakarat, I think is the technique.
Oh, really?
I believe so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
You turn the heat up to a very high temperature right at the end.
Get a nice crust.
Crisp it up.
It's important.
Sakarat.
Sakarat.
Yep.
Wow.
You learned something that
you
never
don't just get football here.
You barely get football here.
Yeah, you just get a little bit of football.
Yeah. What was that guy I think he actually stopped listening.
Good.
Rick Owens?
Owens, yeah.
Rick, I hope you make
Rick,
some
if
nice.
you're still there, you're welcome.
I hope you like some nice paella.
Sakarat. Dulcich, I will say, Eric, it is interesting that the Broncos went with a tight end for their second pick here. You just wonder how much of a focus, how much of a priority that's going to be in Hackett's offense. It does indicate to me that they're going to want to use him a lot. Alberto, obviously, I think is still the number one tight end. It'll be interesting to see how they use Dulcich, if he'll come in right away and get a lot of targets, or if that's more just Alberto right off the bat. What do you think?
I mean, I think the Broncos' recent moves, including re-signing Eric Saubert, suggests that they've wanted to bolster this tight end room, that they weren't just confident with where they were.
Yeah.
And, I think Alberto can take a big step forward, but let's not forget that his rookie year, he got injured, missed most of the season. And then last year, there were ups and downs. There were some fumbles. There were some, I think about that game, against the Ravens, long play at the beginning of the game, has a wide open touchdown.
Changed the tone of it.
Isn't able to make the catch.
Yep.
There was a fumble in New York. He had some good moments, but there were also some moments where you're like, you got to be better here. Mm-hmm. And so I think with this team being in, quote unquote win now mode, where you think
they're in win now mode,
where you can compete for the division, you can't just leave things up to chance where it's, hey, we hope that this guy takes a step forward, or we hope we get the best out of this guy. You've got to give yourself several options. And to me, the Broncos' last few weeks show that there's a little bit of uncertainty there, and so they needed to make some moves. I don't know. I think that Alberto probably goes in as a starter, but depending on how things go, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, midway through the year or late in the year, Dulcich becomes a primary option. I mean, and the other thing you've got to remember, too, is teams have moved towards, especially the Shanahan-style offense, 2 tight ends on the field at the same time. I mean, if you have Albert...
matchup nightmares.
Like, think if you have Javonte, I'm going to make sure I don't put too many players out there. You got the 5-0 lineman, 6 with Russ, running back, that's 7, 2 tight ends, so Alberto and Greg Dulcich, and then maybe you have Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton out there.
Oh,
that's a hard
to guard
package to guard if you're a defense, because maybe you got to go to dime, maybe you got to go to nickel. You got to figure out how do we stop these guys in the passing attack, and then if maybe you hand it off to Javonte and he runs it down your throat. Like that's matchup problems. Is kind of like the name of the game in the NFL. Yeah. Broncos have some guys that can cause those.
I will say, for Alberto's sake, his first year, he's a rookie. He doesn't really have a proper offseason. That was a COVID year, right?
Yeah.
He was drafted. So he doesn't really have an offseason there.
Yeah, year after Drew.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then last year, he has the ACL.
Of course.
Doesn't really have an offseason. So this is the first time he's really healthy. He has a whole offseason. He's working out with Russ in San Diego. I do think that there's no reason why he can't even take a next step in his game. So,
sure. I just don't think it's a guarantee.
Yeah. No
and
guarantee.
So you have to...
You got to be ready to ride.
Be prepared.
You got to have options.
You got to be ready to ride.
I think that Russ wants to ride.
Yeah.
Like, he keeps inviting people, like, let's do this. Right. And then you have to be like,
okay,
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to ride.
He says, let's ride. And you say, I am ready to ride. Let's do that. Dulcich, walk on at UCLA. That tells you a little something about his confidence. Probably a nice little chip on his shoulder, I would say. Was a wide receiver, bulked up, added 40 pounds.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was pure muscle.
I'm
pretty sure.
I bet.
Pure.
Nice and pure.
Yeah. And now he's going to come in here and he's going to try and earn a lot of targets, I think. So the Broncos' third pick. That was it for day 2.
Yep.
You go to sleep and
because the Broncos, worth mentioning, they traded out of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
They picked up a 3rd round pick next year.
Yep, which was necessary. They only have 5 now for next year.
Right, and it's
they had 4, now they got 5.
Added 1, likely to be, I would guess, somewhere in like the late stages of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
But probably, they traded 96. Probably going to be higher than 96. Unless the Colts win the Super Bowl, it's going to be higher than 96. So they upgraded next year.
Yeah,
that pick.
I would say so. Yeah. Then you wake up the next morning, and Saturday was quite a day around here.
Busy.
It started with Damari Mathis out of Pitt, the 10th pick in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I think that this is a nice pick for the Broncos. They add a guy who can play some special teams, can play at a cornerback position, and has a lot of the physical tools. I think George Payton said he got to work on the technique a little bit, but he has the capability to be really, really good.
And, they saw him in person when Pittsburgh played North Carolina. George Payton, I think Darren Muji, a couple of guys went out there for that. And we heard at the time, this is Sam Howell versus Kenny Pickett. You get to see a lot of football players when you're up there. So they clearly liked what they saw from Damari Mathis. And it's interesting, George, he says a lot, this is a rush and cover league.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of reshaped just in, 2 drafts, 2 free agencies, kind of what this secondary looks like.
Yeah, the secondary.
Signed Ronald Darby, drafted Pat Surtain, now he drafted Damari Mathis. There's some guys in there that, we'll see. Like, does Damari Mathis beat out Michael Ojemudia? Or he had a K'Wan Williams, who's the nickel, of course. Does Damari Mathis beat out Michael Ojemudia as that 4th corner, or kind of what happens there? But clearly George Payton has this idea of what he wants a cornerback group to look like. Very important. And he's done that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a lot of moves to just reshape that. I don't think that Mathis is going to play a ton on defense this year as a rookie.
No, probably not.
But if there's an injury, he can certainly come in and be viable there. And, he's got the athleticism. I think that he's not going to get blown off the field or anything like that. So work on a little technique things. Of course, Christian Parker is back as a secondaries coach. So I do think that Mathis will be able to fill in if needed, but mostly a special teamer is what I would say.
Yeah, he had a lot of penalties last year.
That was a big thing.
That's something he's going to have to clean up to play defense, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as a special teams player, and listen, there's a couple of those positions where George says again and again, you can never have enough of these guys.
Yeah.
Cornerback is one of them.
Yep.
We saw what happened a few years ago when the Broncos ran out of cornerbacks, and you're just in a bad spot. You like to think he's building this roster up where, if somebody misses a game or two, you've got a quality player to step in.
Yeah. Then the very next pick, Eric, they had back-to-back
Back-to-back.
What do you think that's like?
I was sure they were going to trade one of those picks.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Just to give me some time, I was like, I need some time.
And then say you got a couple guys you're interested in. Who do you pick first? You know what I mean?
I think you pick the guy you want first in case somebody calls up with a trade offer that you can't refuse.
You think that's how you do it?
Because if you, say you pick the guy that you're, but maybe there's some strategy I don't think that this guy will be picked, so maybe we have him rated higher, but we could pick this other guy and then trade back a little bit. Maybe there's some strategy there.
Yep. And then also, I don't know if you remember this, Drew Lock and Dalton Reisner were picked back-to-back.
They were.
And then that created a little bit of a contract. They had to sort of figure that out just a little bit, because if you get picked first, you think, okay, I'm more valuable, but your position has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, the quarterback situation was the issue there. And it is worth noting they didn't hold those picks going into the round. They traded up to 42 before making the pick.
That is true. So maybe going into it, you got 2 guys. Maybe that's strange. Yeah, maybe that is a little bit of a different. Yeah, that's a good point.
So who'd they pick?
Okay, they picked a guy, Eyioma. I believe that's how you say his first name.
It is. He goes by Inni.
Uwazurike.
Uwazurike.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you just said it really slow.
Uwazurike. Yep. Eyioma Uwazurike.
Yep, you got it.
That's easy. That's no problem. And I really like this pick, Eric.
Yeah.
A defensive tackle out of Iowa State. Big dude. Gets after the quarterback. I would say maybe like not an instant replacement, but the idea is maybe like a Shelby Harris.
Yeah. Play him at end.
You can do a lot of different. Yeah, you could.
He's got a lot of pass rush there, which, at times the Broncos' defensive line hasn't generated that pass rush that you'd like. That obviously helps out Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, Nick Bonitto. If you can get some interior pressure. You hear a lot of times now, Phil, that interior pressure almost causes more issues because it's faster. You got someone coming right at the quarterback, so he's got to step back, and then you got the edge rushers coming. So, that's why Aaron Donald's so successful. Is he's also, he's an incredible player, but he's at a spot where, sometimes those linemen that play center or guard, maybe they're not quite as talented or not quite as highly drafted. And so you get a dominant force in the inside, you get a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah. I also think that you can move him along the inside. So you're always on the inside, I feel like you got to think a little more too as an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
You got to know where things are coming from.
Where the help is, yep.
So there's just a lot going on in the interior.
Yeah. But I like Uwazurike, big guy. They said,
a lot of plays.
They said, we need to get bigger against the run.
An athlete.
Added a couple defensive linemen. Yeah. I liked that. It wasn't talked about too much as a need, but we mentioned it a couple of times, Phil, that we thought the defensive line was a place where the Broncos needed to add.
Yeah.
I liked that they devoted resources there. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of sacks, played at Iowa State big time, played in some big time games.
Yeah.
It would not, I don't think he's going to start as a rookie, but certainly he could be, you think about Draymond Jones, Deshaun Williams, DJ Jones,
Mike Purcell.
And then after that, it's kind of wide open. And
I agree.
He's a guy that, I certainly would expect to make the roster and could get in kind of that rotation pretty early.
Yeah, I think he'll see time on the field in defense. So definitely a guy. I know that the scouts were really fired up with.
Yep.
So then in the 5th round, the 9th pick in the 5th round, Dealerin Turner Yell.
Yeah.
Turner.
I think it's Delarian. Despite the lack,
we need to find out.
I think based on the pronunciation guides, Delarian Turner Yell.
Not Dealerin.
No, I don't think so.
That's how I read the pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
We'll have to find out. You say it's Delarin?
Delarian.
Delarian?
I think there's like a sound that you wouldn't expect looking at the spelling.
Because I think that it was Dealerin.
Okay, we'll double check.
Okay, we'll find out.
I think I'm right. You think you're right. That's how it goes on this show.
That's how it goes. Whole purpose of this entire show.
That's how it goes. Yeah. Safety. George Payton at that point drafted 3 consecutive safeties in the 5th round, dating back to Caden Stearns and Jamar Johnson last year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Something about the 5th round in that position.
In that safety. Yeah, maybe there's good value there.
Nick Bonitto was in the Broncos draft room at that moment.
They was college teammate of Turner Yell.
Friends. Not just teammates.
Best friends.
Yeah.
So that was another cool story angle. I think from a contribution standpoint, George Payton called him out as a big-time special teams contributor.
Yeah.
We know Dwayne Stukes wants to get this unit right. They need to improve there. He's a guy that it would not surprise me if he's kind of one of those core special teamers.
Yeah. This guy likes to tackle.
Yeah,
see him flying around his highlights. This guy can get after the ball. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there. And I think that definitely as a rookie, plays a lot of special teams, and then we'll see what happens. The Broncos have a lot of safeties now.
Yeah, this is kind of a whole other storyline, but Kareem Jackson posted on Instagram one last ride.
I saw that.
With a photo of Justin Simmons. To me, that suggests maybe he's done after this year. So it'll be interesting to see what the Broncos do at that position after this year. Maybe he just means one last let's ride or something like.
Oh, you think that was sort of he kind of mixed up what Russ was saying?
Yeah, maybe.
Like Russ was saying, let's ride, and he's like,
one last one.
Let's
ride.
Yeah, or maybe it was just for the day. Maybe he was.
Yeah, one last rap that day. One final Instagram post that day.
Yep.
A lot of,
or maybe they were let's ride around town in our car.
Yeah. New car is coming, so he's one last ride in this.
In this car? Yeah, exactly. You just don't really know what that means.
Yeah.
We got a lot of reporting to do.
We do.
We got to investigate and figure out what's going on.
But Turner Yell, I think at least for now, good special teams player.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, you feel like that you're getting a solid tackler coming out of Oklahoma. You gotta like that. Yeah. Is that how you feel or no?
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley.
I don't think he coaches there.
What? George Stoya?
This was the George Stoya draft.
Yeah, I think he had a lot of say.
He did.
Eric, the next pick, the 19th pick in the 5th round. This one came out of nowhere, I feel like, even for the selection. Montrell Washington out of Samford, a wide receiver, also a special teamer.
Also a special teams player.
He said he was not expecting to get drafted.
No. I asked him that question.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So
congratulations.
Thanks.
Wow. That's very nice.
Just want a little credit for once.
Got it. Yeah.
This was an interesting situation because
It's all praise Eric.
on these draft boards, he was like the 40th or 70th, like somewhere in that range, best receiver.
That's a big range you just
That is
gave us.
that is a big. Let's say he was a 55th.
He was like 150th best, whatever.
He was a 55th best wide receiver, so we'll split the difference.
Okay, thank you.
On the Athletics kind of big ranking, he didn't even have a blurb about him. It was just his name.
Yeah.
He was a guy that was listed as probably a preferred college free agent. And so it was kind of surprising to see the Broncos draft him. But like we said before, it just takes one other team. And so if they really liked this guy, if they liked his return traits, and they heard whispers of another team being interested in this guy,
You just do
when
it.
you get to these day 3 picks, especially I think, 4th round, you can find some good players. 5th round and beyond, Phil, I feel like it's almost a coin flip. Is this guy going to make your roster? Is this guy going to be a big contributor?
Tom Brady was a 6th round.
Okay, but that's the outlier.
Yeah. It's Terrell Davis.
Okay. Well, it's going to be like that.
No, I think you're right, Eric. I mean, if you like a guy, just take him.
Yeah.
Why feel like you're going to risk it, to push it another round?
Right. And obviously, they were – I don't know if they were at this game, but he had a huge game against Florida.
Killed Florida.
Showed against a really high level of competition where theoretically every other player on your team should be worse than the guy they're going against.
Yeah.
So you think on like a return, Florida's return coverage team should be better than your blocking team, and so that speaks to his ability to find lanes. He
did it a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
that was impressive. I mean, he was running the football, returning the football, catching the football.
Over 300 yards that day, 3 touchdowns.
He killed him.
Really good game. That probably made him stand out, I would think.
Yeah. Eric
went to Samford, small school.
Yeah.
Oh, you said that?
I said Samford.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Not Stanford.
No, different.
Samford.
Yeah.
A little bit different. Eric, the thing that intrigued me about him is that I think he's going to play the returner role to start here. But this idea of like the Deebo Samuel mold in the NFL, having just like a weapon. You don't really know what position he plays. Running back, wide receiver. This guy just is dynamic with the football. That's what it sort of spoke to me. I think if it was just a returner type situation and you were like, this guy can really help in that area, I'm not sure if you pick him in the 5th round. I think that they might have longer term vision for this guy where you get him in the building, you get him on the field, he'll be active on game day in this role. But if needed, I think that Nathaniel Hackett, he's a creative guy on the offensive side of the ball. I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I just would... A suspicion I have is that they were like, this guy is dynamic in a lot of areas. We can use him in a creative way. Let's take him in the 5th round. They're not saying that, but that's just my gut feeling on him.
I mean, it'd certainly be interesting. Like it would amplify the ability of this offense to do certain things because he has kind of that unique speed.
Yeah.
He's small.
He is small.
He's smaller than Deebo, and so
yes.
I don't know.
I don't think you run him like the same.
I don't know.
Deebo.
You can like subject him to some of that stuff.
Punishment.
To me, it feels like a Deontay Spencer situation.
Oh yeah.
Where he, serves as a main returner, and then there were times when you tried to hit Deontay on a quick out, or you tried to get Deontay on like a flare where you'd put him in position to get in the open field and see if you can make someone miss.
But Deontay is like, you signed him from the CFL. Like, he's not a 5th round pick.
Right. Well, they might think, hey, this guy's a better returner. They think this guy's got, he can do that at a higher level.
Yeah.
But I mean, if this guy gets more than a couple targets a game, I'd be really surprised.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's like, okay, well, let's try to catch him off guard or a gimmick sort of thing. And we'll see. Maybe.
No, I definitely think so.
And it's also like they've got Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick and Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon and Alberto and Greg Dulcich. Like, there's only so many. You're probably already getting fired up. You're like, why doesn't this guy have 10 targets?
I'm getting upset already.
Yeah, it's going to be 20. We're going to win the opener 28-3, and you're going to be like, why did Tim Patrick only have 6 catches?
We can talk about this when we're done with the list, but I sort of feel like some picks make you think a little bit more about like where the mindset is about the team and like what they might be thinking direction wise. This was one of those picks for me. I don't think this was just a pick that they made. It kind of came out of nowhere. It was a guy that wasn't on a lot of people's radar, and the way he's used, it just made me think a little bit more than just your regular pick.
Yeah, I think to me it's just, and again, that's possible. I just think that
I could be reading too much into it.
When you're a good team, the difference between you and these other good teams can be really minuscule. And so if they see this guy as like, hey, he can give us an edge. Maybe
we're change a game.
Maybe we're playing the Chiefs, and he can take a punt return for a touchdown.
Gosh, see, they know I'm on to something, Eric.
I think
they're like, enough of this podcast. Let's shut this down. He's on to something.
So, I don't
know. Let's Luke Wattenberg.
Yeah, center.
The 28th pick out of Washington, Pac-12 player.
Traded up to get him.
They say that he's a center. He did not play center at Washington. He was a left guard.
I think he did play. He played center. He played center his final year.
Maybe he played just a little bit his final year.
Yeah, he played
a lot of his playing.
He played 4 games
left guard
in 2020. I think the COVID situation really shortened Washington's season. Mm-hmm. Came back in 2021, did play center that whole year.
But before
he has more starts at left guard than he does at center, but clearly made a decision whether that was for Washington or for his professional future to move to center. But I kind of view him kind of in this mix with all these interior linemen.
Yeah, I think that if you're like a young guard, you want to be able to play a little center.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think Quinn Miners is probably the most solidified guy on that interior line right now. But you've got Lloyd Cushenberry in there, Dalton Reisner, Netani Muti, Graham Glasgow, this new draft pick. And so there's a lot of guys kind of, and there's other people on the roster as well, but a lot of guys jockeying for positions. And whether this is a kind of a depth draft pick initially, or if he does emerge as an option somewhere along the interior of the line, I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have more than enough capable offensive linemen. Because if there's one thing that can wreck your season, it's if an offensive lineman goes down and the next week you got to play a dominant pass rusher.
Yeah. I'm going to be interested to see how this guy fits. Offensive line is, in general, very interesting to me because you build your offensive line around the scheme you want to play. This guy can pull. He's really athletic. Yeah. They move him around. He could get to the second level and block linebackers. To me, this seems like definitely a Hackett type of guy. Plays that zone scheme. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe Lloyd is too big for what they want to do, or maybe Lloyd has to change his body type and then he could do those things. It's just gonna be interesting to see how he fits in. To me, this guy fits. Wattenberg is more of a guard type. We'll just have to see where he settles in.
Well, the interesting thing is that Reisner, Muti, Glasgow, Cushenberry, those guys were not George Payton picks.
Yeah,
and so that area of the roster, obviously, it's a little harder to flip the whole offensive line overnight than cornerback, where you've got fewer guys there. Yep. But this line really is still kind of a work in progress in terms of Payton's philosophy.
Yeah.
Hackett's philosophy, obviously, since he just got here. But
yeah,
with a different blocking scheme than they've run in the past, maybe you need a different kind of archetype of player, and maybe this guy fits in.
In the 6th round, the 28th pick in the 6th round, Eric, the Broncos went Matt Henningsen. we could just go talk about both these guys because they both went to Wisconsin.
Yep.
And then in the 7th round, the final pick, Fayon Hicks.
Yeah.
Henningsen, a defensive tackle. Hicks, a cornerback.
Yeah, and I think Henningsen, again, has that versatility to play kind of defensive end as well. Some people are saying on Twitter his style of play kind of reminds him of a Derek Wolfe type player. Obviously, Derek Wolfe, a higher draft pick, but Henningsen, brilliant from what everyone said. Scouts described him as Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting.
Smart kid.
Very smart. A 4.0, I think mechanical engineering.
He was up for a scholarship, or not a scholarship, like an academic award at the end of last season.
Yeah. So just a great guy to add, I think, to the team. Again, he's going to have a chance to compete for a spot in the rotation there. The back end of the defensive line is really kind of up in the air, brings size. So that's important. And then Hicks is a guy that, maybe you just take a flyer on a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end there that has the traits you want. We'll see. Last year, not every draft pick made the roster.
Yep.
These guys at the end of the 7th round, they're going to have to fight for their spots.
Yes. There's only 53 people on a roster.
Yeah.
You select 9. The roster is already pretty concentrated in certain areas. There's going to be some competition.
And that's a good thing. When you get to this point where the roster, you want your roster to be hard to make.
Yeah, I agree. Eric, who is your favorite pick?
I like Montrell.
Okay.
I just think that at every other spot, you already kind of had those starters solidified. Punt returner and kick returner was a big question mark. And again, who knows how this plays out, if he's big enough to play in the league, if his measurables are up there in terms of speed, agility, if he can transition to a higher level of play. But if this works out, I think he gives you an element that you haven't had probably since Trenton Holiday. And when you're competing for the AFC West, a Super Bowl, any edge you can get is really important.
Yeah.
And if he can take a punt back against the Chargers, or he can, maybe it's even just averaging 10 yards a return where all of a sudden you've picked up a free first down for Russ.
Yeah.
To me, this guy has that spark, and he's just intriguing. Like, as an interview, seemed like a really interesting guy. Didn't expect to be drafted. Kind of has that story of coming from a small school, making it to the NFL. I view him like an Isaiah McKenzie type player. You mentioned how do they use this guy? The way they use Isaiah McKenzie in Buffalo, reverses, motion. Maybe that can be what he becomes. Obviously, it didn't work out for Isaiah here in Denver, but hopefully this coaching staff has a better plan and is able to get the best out of him. Yeah,
I just think that if you have a dynamic type of weapon and you have a creative coaching staff, which I think the Broncos do, you could just use these players in different ways, and they're matchup problems.
Yeah.
So I do like it. I like the Montrell pick too. I was going to say Damari Mathis.
Okay.
Guy. I like guys who are really athletic, and then you can work with them a little bit and then see what they could become.
Yeah.
This guy has all the tools. He's 5'11", 196 pounds, so he's got the size that you want. And he ran a 4.3 940.
It's fast.
It's fast. He's got a 43.5 vertical. So he can get up.
He can get down.
You have to get up to get down.
You really do.
And what goes up
must come down. In the weight room, you pick things up and you put them down.
A lot of times.
Many times.
Many times. So I think that he's got the athleticism. Darren Muji, the Broncos' assistant general manager, he told me that the athleticism really stands out.
Yeah.
So I like that. They got some technique problems. One of the things that George Payton likes to do is he'll praise a guy in the press conference, and then he'll also knock him down a couple pegs.
Give him something to work on.
Yeah, exactly. He's not shy about his critique. He did say that he's got to clean up his technique, and the penalties are a problem.
Yeah. Well, and let's be clear here. These guys don't have to be perfect prospects. The coaches get paid for a reason. So
exactly.
If you're not,
work on them a little bit.
Yeah. If you're not great with your technique, if you're, Bonitto, if you need to get better against the run, if you need to get stronger, that's what the strength staff's for.
Yep.
That's what this coaching staff is for. It's their job to take these picks and develop them into quality NFL players.
Mathis missed his entire senior season. He was working out, tore his labrum, boxing.
Boxing, yeah.
While working out. Sometimes I know you like to box.
He came back this year.
Then he came back. Yeah, sorry. That was supposed to be his senior year. Then he redshirted, came back. Last year, had 44 tackles and 2 interceptions. Yeah. You get after a little boxing bag, don't you?
Oh, you know it. I will say one of the guys, Uwazurike, really intriguing.
Oh, so a little hedge.
Little hedge.
Just a hedge to end.
I think he's a guy that could really surprise you in terms of some sacks.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be surprised, huh?
I'd be really surprised.
If you think that he's a great pick and you've got high expectations, I'm not going to be surprised.
I mean, he's a 4th-round pick.
I'm not surprised.
To me, anything that happens after day 2 is just kind of like a bonus.
Most definitely. I agree. That's why I like the Mathis guy.
Because you want to get 3 starters out of the draft, so you figure, okay,
your first 2.
Hopefully, at some point, Bonitto's a starter.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe at some point Dulcich is a starter. It's not necessarily as clear for those guys to become starters because there's people ahead of them, and then you just hope one of those other guys.
Yeah. And let's be clear, like a lot of people talk about the 2021 draft. Surtain was a 9th overall pick.
Yep.
This guy's been the best.
Javonte was a 40th.
Yeah, exactly. So it's essentially like they got 2 first-round picks,
Yeah.
Javonte Williams easily could have
been not the 40th, 35th, right?
Yeah, they traded up to get him. So that's like 2 first-round picks.
Right.
And Surtain has been pretty much a slam dunk. This guy's been the best at his position his entire life.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to come in and just be solid. So, Eric, the last thing we'll talk about with the draft real quick here is you look at the whole class. Did it tell you anything about where Broncos decision makers feel like this roster is? Like just like a theme, like, hey, they did this, they really focused on this, or just what stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One, the depth needed to get better at some spots. I think they took good players while also focusing on areas of need. They didn't get right tackle or inside linebacker kind of solved, but other than that, they hit almost every position of need where you still needed a little bit of help there. That stands out. They wanted to get better along the line of scrimmage on both sides. That was a theme, I thought. You had a center / guard. You had 2 defensive linemen. They needed to get better against the run. They needed to get stronger, probably in the run game, and protecting against some of these rushers. So that stood out. Those were probably the big themes to me, I guess.
Yeah.
There were some guys with a lot of experience, some walk-ons, but in terms of the themes, it was meeting needs, and then up front really attack that.
And I do think they got more athletic too.
Okay, yeah.
That was one thing. I think that some of these picks really athletic guys. So maybe that was something that they felt like they had a need there. And then
special teams, I guess, was a big emphasis in the draft.
Yeah. And the Dulcich pick, I think, is going to be the one that a lot of people focus on. Just because the trade back, taking him that high, how much is he going to play? Is he going to be a big-time weapon? That's just a pick that I feel like that's what I'm going to pay attention to.
Yeah, and if tackle's an issue and you say, okay, well, why didn't you just take Ryman there?
Yeah.
Who, of course, he went between 75 and 80 to the Colts. And I was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
And it's another thing, too, is it's not quite the first round, obviously, but the third round is still kind of where I start to think, let's take a tight end here. Like Alberto was a 4th round pick.
Yeah, you start thinking about it.
I think maybe what happened is Jelani Woods, I think 73, I think is where he went out of Virginia. I wonder if the Broncos thought, ooh, there might be a run on tight ends here. We got to get our guy.
Yeah.
Because some tight ends went later in the 4th round, 5th round, but maybe they thought, we've got this grouping of guys. We got to get him here, make sure he's on our team.
And if he's really good, this is going to be a tremendous draft class. So it's just you got to pay attention.
This is not going to be a draft class that probably wins you an award or is star-studded, but what the Broncos need from the next 2 classes, because next year, like you mentioned, Phil, 5 picks, no 1st or 2nd round pick. The Broncos need solid classes.
Yeah.
Where, you don't look back and you say, this is where the roster fell apart was because you didn't have high picks in 2022 or 2023. You need to you almost got to get through these 2 classes before you get your 1st round picks back, your 2nd round picks back.
Yeah.
And go from there. So that's what I'll be looking for. Do you get enough of a contribution from these guys that you survive these classes?
Yeah.
Because as you pay Russell Wilson, as you pay other positions, you got to start relying on these picks. You can't afford to sign a bunch of free agents probably. It's going to be a homegrown operation. I trust in George Payton. That's his skill set, drafting and developing, but we'll just have to see.
building the foundation.
Right.
You got to make sure that's solid. Then you could build up,
Build a nice little house.
Yeah.
Maybe a 2-story.
Ooh.
Could be really
Really?
good. Yeah.
Okay. Eric, let's move on to our final topic here on this episode. A lot of draft talk there, which I think is important. But quickly here, the Broncos will be playing a game in London versus Jacksonville. October 30th is when they'll be playing at Wembley Stadium. Just your thoughts on that and maybe the football impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall great for the organization to go over there, get some global exposure. The Broncos haven't been over there in 12 years. It's been a long time. For a long time, it was really important to this organization. Pat Bowlen really stressed, hey, we want to be an international team. We want to have an international fan base. You mentioned Broncos World.
So many people say Broncos Country.
Yeah,
Eric.
you were like Broncos World.
For that week, it's going to be Broncos World.
So I think going over there has a great impact. Maybe a lot of teams go over there. They have a community event. They have a marketing event.
Yeah.
Chance to kind of, do some
engage
good.
with fans.
Exactly. Engage with fans. So that's kind of and one other aspect in terms of just it being cool. We talked to 3 guys the other day, Josie Jewell, Jerry Jeudy, and K'Wan Williams. None of them have ever been to London. A lot of these guys have not been overseas. It's kind of a really cool experience for them to, do something during their NFL career that they haven't had a chance to do.
Yeah.
Maybe it hasn't been a possibility. Maybe it hasn't been a priority. But for whatever reason, they haven't been, and now they get that chance. So that's really cool to me from hey, expand people's horizons.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that it'll be interesting to see if the Broncos go out there and practice the whole week.
Yep.
Some teams like to get acclimated, the time change, everything gets settled in, and then play the game. Other people like to get there on a Thursday, do a couple days, and then play the game. We'll see how the Broncos handle that. But if they do go out for a little bit of a longer stretch, it will be nice for the players to practice, focus on the game, but also to go out and experience some culture a little bit.
And Nathaniel Hackett said that, hey, we got a job to do here. It's a business trip, but I want these guys to
have fun,
to enjoy it, and get to experience this. You mentioned it from a football standpoint. Where are you going to be playing the week before is a big thing. Are you, do the Broncos want to be on the East Coast?
And then just go pop over?
They play, the Panthers, the Ravens. I'm trying to think anybody else on that kind of in that area. I think those are the two
East Coast games.
Yeah, two main options. So you'd agree that Charlotte is an East Coast game?
Charlotte, no, I'm sorry, that was the South.
Okay. They
so
just
they're
pop
gonna play,
over from the South.
Yeah, so maybe, hopefully, I think ideally you would be playing on the East Coast in Baltimore.
Got it. Do they want to do that? Is a team going to be at home? And if that's the case, when do you leave?
Yeah.
Because it is a disruption to the normal football schedule.
Yes,
it's not
the
easy.
operations part of it is a little bit.
It's not easy to go over there. Football players are kind of creatures of habit.
Yeah,
this is different. It's going to feel different.
Yeah.
So how do they handle that? How do they not let it disrupt the year? Because it's going to be a tough division.
Yeah.
It seems like the AFC is absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
I don't want to just completely drag the Jaguars. This is a game the Broncos should win.
Yes, this is not a particularly intriguing matchup unless Trevor Lawrence just takes a Mahomian type of leap.
Ooh, Mahomian. I like that.
Mahomian.
And it's week 8, so Lawrence is going to have some time to kind of gel and get into Doug Peterson's system. So I'm a little more worried about the matchup than I would be if it were week 2, like it was last year. But you're right. I mean, Russell Wilson should have the edge in that quarterback matchup. The roster is better. Yeah. This is a game that at the end of the year, I think you kick yourself if you lose.
Yeah.
Either because, you're going to lose out on wild card positioning, or if you're in the hunt for the division, you're like, and you're 12-5, you're like, man, if we were just 13-4, if we had just beaten the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So this is an important game from that standpoint. And I do think it's helpful from a competitive standpoint. The Jaguars got to go do this too. I know they've done it before.
They do it a lot.
They do it a lot, but, it's still a disruption to some degree. Yeah. The Broncos don't have to go to South Florida. I guess not South Florida, but to Florida, where they've struggled sometimes with those 1 p.m. kicks. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a time adjustment for everybody instead of just them. So from that standpoint, I think it makes it a little bit easier. But, yeah, they got to figure out the best way to go there, get this win, and then presumably you go on to bye and start the stretch run.
Yeah, I believe that the bye week is supposed to be
week 9.
A lot of times it
teams
follows
do
up,
that.
and then that way you can readjust back.
Yeah.
I also talked to Coach Hackett just in the hallway here.
Oh.
Said a little known fact, Eric, is that a soccer pitch is flatter than a football field.
Huh.
So it just feels a little bit different when you're running on it. So he said that's one thing that they
Our
guys
football
have to
field's not flat?
No, there's a little bit of a curve
curve
in the center, just for some drainage and just a little.
Oh.
It's not a huge deal, but it does feel a little bit different running on a soccer pitch.
Huh.
Is what he said.
Is the grass shorter?
I don't know if the grass. No, I think that is like it depends on field to field.
Okay.
But he said that a soccer pitch is.
I presume it's
flat.
grass, right? They don't play
do
these
think so.
matches on turf out there. I don't think.
No, I think they play on grass. Yeah. He just said it's like really flat.
Maybe there's some good like soccer-esque celebrations. Like maybe someone scores a touchdown and goes sliding.
Slide. Yeah. Do you slide into the goalpost or do you go to like the pylon?
I think you slide into the pylon.
So you do it just like how the soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool.
You rip your jersey off. They do that a lot in soccer.
Yeah. Quickly, a couple of things that are annoying about it.
Oh, sorry.
No. Just saying football is football. You know, that kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a little bit annoying. Going across the pond.
Yeah.
I think we've already got that annoying. And then also London calling.
Yeah, you said that.
I did say that in our little thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it's London calling.
Instead of
Clash.
London's.
Yeah, and it's by the Clash.
Got it.
That song, of course, about war.
Yeah, I don't really know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It did happen before 2007? That's when you were born.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those three things, I got to flesh that out of my system. I promise I will not say some of those things.
It will be a really cool experience.
It will be.
And, Russell Wilson currently has 3 touchdowns in international games.
Oh,
if he has 2 touchdown passes against the Jaguars, he'll move into the top, I think tied for 4th all time in terms of quarterbacks that, touchdown passes by quarterbacks in an international game.
It's an interesting fact.
Brady has 10. Brady is winning by a lot. He's probably played like 1 game there.
Of course, playing internationally was very important to Pat Bowlen.
Yep.
The Broncos have played all over the place. They played in Japan, Australia. They've played in London before, Mexico City.
And I would think Mexico City is probably coming at some point.
Yeah.
Who knows how soon, but the Broncos have an international home marketing agreement in Mexico. You think that's coming. And it's just nice that they prioritize Denver because the Broncos were supposed to go in 2020 against the Falcons. Did not happen, obviously.
Yeah.
Nice that the Broncos didn't kind of get shifted to the back of the line. And there's now a requirement that you play 1 international game every 8 years.
Yeah.
With the Mexico deal, I think that's probably going to happen soon. Like I wouldn't expect to wait another 8 years after this, but good for fans, I think, to see, at least, it's guaranteed at least every 8 years that you're going to do this.
Yeah. Eric, I will mention for people who are listening and don't know quite some of the intricacies here, the Broncos, this is a road game for them. They have not given up a home game to play in London. Like the game against the 49ers was also a road game. They don't want to give up. They did not want to give up a home game while Peyton Manning was here in order to play an international game. You want your home game with a guy like Peyton Manning. You want him at home to play in front of the home fans. The away teams also, from a financial aspect, did not want to give up their home game against Peyton Manning.
Right.
So for 4 years there, the Broncos playing overseas, it was sort of a tricky deal.
Yep.
So, and that's why, like Tom Brady, I don't know how many games he's played, but I'm imagining not very many.
Right. Somehow has 10 touchdown passes.
But there is some trickiness there, just like trying to play a game overseas.
Yes.
But happy that the Broncos are going to be playing overseas, and I do think, just from a business standpoint, it is important for the NFL and the game of football to be played all around the world.
Yes.
And start getting into some of these areas and establishing a fan base there. I mean, the NBA has done a tremendous job of this. They're getting fans and now talent from all across the world. So to be able to grow the game,
Serbia.
make this a global. Yeah. Did you know that there's another Nikola?
I'm talking about Jovic. Who are you talking about?
Jovic is coming out. I'm talking about Jokic.
Oh, I was talking about Nikola Jovic.
No.
That's my guy.
He's supposed to be a late first rounder.
The Nuggets have to draft him.
That would be tremendous.
They have to.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us. For Eric Lau, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.